Good morning. My name is Chris Palermo, Director of Business Development for Universal Credit Services. And today we're going to discuss a few basics for new loan officers and new loan officer assistants on when to pull a credit report, how to read a basic credit report, and some of the products that are available to us to assist prospective borrowers in increasing their scores. One of the first mistakes I see new loan officers make is that when a prospective borrower calls them and says, "Hey, I'd like to see if I can qualify for a mortgage loan, but I have no idea what my credit looks like. Can we take a look at that?" The biggest mistake is that the new loan officer says, "Yeah, let's do that. Let's get your information and pull your credit report." There's a lot of factors in qualifying for a mortgage loan that would need to be asked prior to pulling a credit report. First is, how much money do you have saved to purchase a home? Are you currently employed? Are you full-time? Are you self-employed? And, how big of a house are you looking to purchase? These are all questions that should be asked prior to pulling the credit report. But once they go through that process and everything checks out okay, then at that point, you should actually go and pull the credit report. Now, there's a lot of automated systems today for loan origination that are used, and it actually guides them through those questions first prior to going to the next level of pulling credit report. And the biggest importance about asking these questions prior to when you're speaking with a prospective borrower is that you gain the opportunity to share knowledge and build trust with that person, which makes it more likely that even after they called a couple other places, they will most likely come back to you because you spent the most time and showed them that you are a fully educated mortgage individual. So once that's all done and you pull their credit, let's go look into a quick sample of a credit report and go through the basics of reading one. So this is a sample credit report. Universal Credit Services is our company at the top. This is a merged credit in file. It has our company name. It has the applicant's name and social. If there's a co-applicant, that would show here. The next thing that you see are the borrower's scores. Now, this information below this point, where you get into the trade line information, can be organized any way that your company prefers it. You could have your derogatories on top. You could have all your good current accounts on top and derogatories at the bottom. You could have your balances from high to low and the derogatories put in bold. This can all be configured to the company's best needs, and you would work with your credit vendor to do that. Now, on this credit report, after the scores, when we get into the trade line information, this has all the opened current accounts first. You have the creditor, you have the date last reported, you have the date opened, the date of last activity, what type of account it is. This is an auto loan first. It has the balance or high credit limit, actually the high credit limit, and then the balance, and then the payments. Any past due dollars are listed next, and months revolving or months reported shows you how old the account is. And then a basic display of 30, 60, 90. These are any recent lates or lates in the past that have showed up and how many, to give you an idea of what you're working with. Now, if there was a late on any of these accounts, let's say there was one 30-day late, it would show right here. And then right next to the account number, it would list the exact month and date of that 30-day late. Now, as we scroll down through the accounts, you can see that there's some more open current accounts. And then we have a closed account, and then we have your derogatory accounts. Now, this information, like I said before, can be organized in any way. A lot of our companies like to have the negative information, the derogatory information first, because when you go to ask somebody, I got some good news and some bad news, what do you want first? They mostly say the bad news. So a lot of our companies put that derogatory information up front at the top of the trade line information so that it can address those issues right away. As we scroll further down, you have every trade line information's address and phone number. Now, this is important because if you have to call to address an issue on the credit report, you have the information to contact those creditors. All right. So that basically goes through, reading a credit report. Also, we'll scroll back up because I did miss something, is the inquiries. They will be under the trade line information. Some companies even like to have the recent inquiries up top as well, but on this sample, it is below all the trade line information. The more credit reports a new loan officer or new loan assistant reads, the more familiar they will be with that information. And then they can address the issues and see what they can do to increase your credit scores. For example, there are 3 main products that are utilized quite frequently for loan officers today. One is Credit Assure. It's one of my favorite products. It actually shows potential score improvement at the time you pull of what you can do. And it is actually on the first page of this credit report. If we scroll all the way to the beginning, this is Credit Assure. It shows you the potential score improvement for each bureau. And this is great because if you're at a 622 middle and you need to get to a 640, you know that you can do that based on these calculations here. Now, what does a loan officer do next when they see this? If they're trying to get somebody to 640, they're going to have to utilize one of the rescoring tools that are available to loan officers and loan officer assistants today. They are Wayfinder and Wayfinder and What If Simulator. So Wayfinder is great for new loan officers to start their learning process. With Wayfinder, you would punch in a score you're trying to get to. In this case, it would be 640. And then it will tell you what steps you need to take to get to that 640 score. Now, for the first 2 or 3 months, you'll utilize Wayfinder quite frequently as a new loan officer. But as you get more familiar with credit and credit scores, you'll actually shift to the What If Simulator, which is what most experienced loan officers use today. What If Simulator, you can plug in a specific action and then get your score results. And then you can print that plan out as well and give that to the borrower to achieve. So What If Simulator is used for more experienced loan officers. Wayfinder is a great training tool for newer loan officers and to give prospective borrowers a guide of what they need to do to improve their scores. Now, we'll scroll down further to how scores are calculated and what you can do easily to increase some people's scores. On this credit report, if we scroll to the trade line summary, you will see that right here, debt to high credit limit is 83%. So to know what that means, you have to know how scores are calculated. So the 2 biggest pieces of credit scoring are payment history. As long as you make your payments on time, you'll have a good score. The next is what's called credit utilization ratio. So payment history covers 35% of your overall score, but credit utilization ratio covers 30%, which is a big portion. Okay, so going to the trade line summary and seeing that somebody has a high debt to credit utilization ratio of 83%, lets you know that you can increase scores by addressing the revolving and the open credit information. So above that, you can see that here's his revolving credit. He's using over 50%. And here is a new opened account, which if you scrolled through the credit report, you'll see that the American Express card is that account, which is also a revolving account. And that is above 50%. So a great way to increase this person's score, there's 2 ways to do that. One, you can have the borrower, if they have the funds, pay down the balances, and you either want to get it below 50%, which would give you a nice score increase, or you want to get it below 35% if possible, which would give you even more points on the credit report. Now, if the borrower doesn't have any funds, then another way you could decrease that credit utilization ratio is that as long as these accounts are paid on time, and in this case, his revolving credit cards are all paid on time, he can call the creditor and ask for an increase in credit limit. And then once that's put into effect, that can decrease the score. So if he has one credit card with a $1,000 limit and a $900 balance, he can call and ask that that be increased to $3,000 or $4,000, and that will in turn reduce the credit utilization ratio and increase the scores the next month that it's reported. Now, if you need these adjustments done right away, you're going to have to learn what a rapid rescore is. A rapid rescore is when you make credit adjustments at the bureau level. And we can get those done, and any credit vendor can usually get those done in 3 to 5 business days. So what a rapid rescore is, for example, say there's a missed payment on this credit report and the borrower says, well, that's a mistake, that should be removed. And that's fine, we can get that removed, but what we're going to need from the creditor themselves is a letter that states, yes, this past due payment was recorded in error, and we are going to report the correction to the bureaus to remove that late payment. Now we get that letter and then we do what's called the rapid rescore, and we send it to the bureaus and they adjust the credit report within 3 to 5 business days. And at that point, you can then re-pull the credit report and get the new scores. Now, when you're doing all these rescoring models and all these simulators, you have to know that the credit score is for a specific point in time when you pull the credit report. And sometimes you do not get the score that you're looking for that was stated on the what if simulator on the Wayfinder. That's because something between the time that you ran the Wayfinder and gave the list of information to the borrower to address, and then 30 days later they come back to you saying it's all done, something else could have happened within that report. So although these tools are extremely helpful and very accurate to a point, they are not 100% accurate because it cannot address what happens between the time you run the Wayfinder or what if simulator and the time that the borrower actually makes the corrections, and then you have to re-pull the credit report. So that's your basics on reading the credit report and some of the tools that are available to new loan officers today. The next thing I'd like to discuss for new loan officers and new loan officer assistants is that when you know that you need a supplement or a rescore on a credit report, and a supplement is basically a cosmetic change to the credit report for underwriting purposes. It will not change scores and it will not be done at a bureau level, but it is frequently requested for underwriting purposes. Order those right away. The volume of business that we're all dealing with today is exceptionally large. Turn times are always a little bit delayed than normal. So the sooner that you order your supplements or your rescores, the better chance that we can all get to work on them, address them, and make sure that you don't miss any closing dates. That's all I have today. I'd like to thank you for your time and hope that you have a successful rest of 2020. Thank you.